Is the sky falling? Is the world truly ending? Did Call of Duty stop sending 90 gigabytes worth of updates to their games? No. Okay, then why is Fitment Industries back on the chopping block to talk about another muscle car? And that's a good question.
Me? I asked it.
When it comes down to it, there are cars that have been around for a block or two. Cars that have had a spotty relationship with staying in production for more than 10 years. Apparently, that's only a Japanese car thing that manages to stay alive for more than 2 generations. Anyway, I'm Alex, AlexFI on Instagram, and today we're gonna be talking about a car that has been a car that is touted as almost the reason every other domestic brand started to even creating an affordable muscle car. A car that, for the most part, was pretty damn slick and making you have loose bowels around pretty much every corner you could possibly imagine, and sounds like an angry box of bees that take too much creatine. I don't know, it's just an obnoxious noise, and I feel bad for any neighbors that happen to have a GTO. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be talking about you wanting to own a Pontiac GTO. And if you're just jumping into a Fitment Industries video, what's poppin'? That's apparently a casual way of saying hello. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep making banging videos like this. We promise we will not disappoint you. Maybe once or twice in a while, but besides that, we're usually pretty good. And of course, if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com, where we have literally everything you could possibly imagine. I'm not joking, for your newly acquired Pontiac GTO or otherwise. And if you haven't watched our new series called Opposite Lanes, you should do it, where we compare 2 things, and I drive them and I drink coffee. I love the series because I can drink coffee pretty much the whole time. It's also pretty slick. The good old Pontiac GTO had an interesting history. Here's the history in probably just about 2 or 3 minutes. Kind of like the Spark Notes version, but we'll give you the answers that you were actually looking for. Know what I'm saying? I see you, Quizlet. You've probably had a spike in session usage over the past few months. The Pontiac GTO was like a relationship between a good homeschooled Christian gal and a dude that welded a tractor exhaust to his Impala. It was secretive, it was exciting, and if caught, you probably would have had limbs removed. You see, General Motors banned division like motorsport racing in their companies. They just didn't want to do it anymore. It had to do with a voluntary ban on it from another boring company division thing. But pretty much, this meant that the performance division of Pontiac really didn't get or have any legs to stand on. But Pontiac didn't really want to let that stop them because they found a good old loophole in the GM banning. They found out that if you created a vehicle that met the requirements that GM had set forth and offered performance variants as an option, you could get away with it. The Pontiac GTO was built around that loophole, taking the framework of the Pontiac Tempest, a big ass engine, and crossed fingers behind the back that nobody would really notice. And they made the GTO essentially a trim model that you could use. Now, taking the GTO verbiage from the Gran Turismo homologated. Okay, it was the good old classic Ferrari 250 GTO nomenclature that they took it from, but GTO didn't actually mean that. It meant Grand Touring Car because, just kidding, it didn't mean that either. It meant Grand Tempest option. Yeah, that's what it meant. In all honesty, Pontiac was just like that one little class that got away with everything because he stayed just enough next to the line of troublemaking, but not actually doing anything wrong that you really couldn't be mad at them. The GTO continued to be an option throughout the initial years of the 60s and into the 70s, while also developing into its own model. It was a fast car that at its origin was pretty darn good. It was a budget, muscle, performance, coupe thing that younger kids wanted. Over time, it did suffer a little bit of like sequel disease, where they started making it into things that people never really asked for, kind of like a muscle compact car. It was really kind of ugly in all honesty, but everything about the GTO was to try and skirt under the radar to make a muscle performance vehicle. Either way, this car started with good intentions, but as the car got older, it began to lose its luster. And then it took a couple decade hiatus. Then it came back, and boy, was it lovely. Mostly for me. I love these cars. The rest of the world, not really actually so much. So maybe I'm just on my little island, not really get super excited. New generation GTO came to the United States after a GM chairman by the name of Bob Lutz took it for a drive around in the good old Oss. Okay, Bob would take the fight to the hierarchy of GM to explain that a performance coupe like the Commodore, AKA Holden Murano, AKA whatever it was gonna be named in the States, was necessary to bring a new performance-oriented vehicle into the fray to compete with the likes of the Dodges and all the other muscle-oriented domestic domestic vehicles that were coming out of the woodwork. This battle would end up taking literally 3 years. Much longer than they initially anticipated, because by the time the car actually was entered into the States, it was a little bit too late. You ever notice how the GTO actually looks dated for its years? That's because of the battle to get that Murano into the States took that long. And the approved design couldn't be updated to actually get it, you know, not looking like an early 2000s car, even though it was a 2004. Now, early 2000 cars had a tough time with the good old aging, but GTO still got released despite the concern. When it was released, people anticipated it like they anticipated a free soda on an airplane. Like, it was there, but it wasn't anything that they were overly stoked about. The Corvette-powered Pontiac was assembled in Australia, which made for some good marketing, but the higher than competition price due to inflation and the dated styling immediately put it back at a little bit of a disadvantage. As the years progressed, you would think that it would get better. I'll tell you what they did, guys. I'll tell you right now. They added more colors, a couple more features, made it a 6.1 liter to try and grow interest in the vehicle. It didn't work, okay? The GTO would end its short stint in 2006 as Pontiac continued to hit roadblock after roadblock until it essentially alt F4'd itself later in the decade. But we're not here to talk about the history of the GM slash Holden slash Pontiac slash VX slash stepchild of a muscle car, all right? We're here to talk about you wanting to own one of these bad boys, okay? So you want a Pontiac GTO. Well, set down your limited edition set of Breaking Bad and grab your favorite beard cream, because we're gonna talk about what it's like to actually own one of these kangaroo-loving, high horsepower yet odd-looking cars. Which, by the way, speaking of beard cream, I did forget to clean my face in terms of the facial hair that's coming out. It's not that I'm trying to grow this. It's that I forgot. The old Pontiac GTOs are jam-packed with history, with names of people that led the companies from a garage and believed in pretty much one thing: going fast and having fun. That's two, I don't care. While the initial years of these cars are quite fun to look at a car show, they aren't that common anymore in terms of new generation modification or ownership. However, they are a beaut, and if you can find one for a good deal, buy it and keep it forever. Really, our focus is on you wanting to own one from the 2004 to the 2006. Now, the GTO is a little bit of an odd fish. Its styling doesn't inherently match its years. The exhaust note of these cars can make you question if you should really race one ever, if you're against it, not if you're driving it. If you're driving it, you want to race everyone. And they still aren't incredibly low priced. They're okay, but they're not a steal. So should you buy one? Well, I mean, to buy a GTO, you need to know the following things, okay? The car does have some interesting quirks in terms of reliability. Batteries are iconic to drain to pretty much dead. They just do that. Apparently something with the infotainment. And when it's not started for a few weeks, it's just dead, just a constant draw. They just didn't think that was an issue. The weight doesn't match for the spec built in terms of the suspension, which can cause the car to actually sag over time. Sagging results in excessive tire wear, which can get pricey. If you ever notice, GTOs usually have a tendency to do this as they get older. You can tell which ones have been maintained if they don't do that. There are components in the car which rub metal, like fuel lines that can and may burn the whole thing to the ground. That's actually a thing. And to fix this, you need to pull the side engine cover off and replace that fuel line with a braided line so that it can handle being rubbed up again, like a Friday night dance club. You need to put a wire protector on your wiring harness behind the glove box, otherwise it'll break and cause a ton of issues as well. That is actually a rough one, which really doesn't make sense. These things you thought they would have caught in QA, but that is why they are no longer producing cars. So probably not that surprising. And the weather stripping isn't that fantastic and can cause leaks into the inside of the vehicle. Okay, automatics don't get good gas mileage, and that's pretty much really everything you would need to know about a 2004 to 2006. Now, does that mean it's a bad car? No, it's a domestic. It's what it's supposed to be doing. It's built like it should be. The 04s to 06 GTOs have a fun 5.7 liter or 6.1 liter, which give you plenty of smiles. But what really makes this car fun is the sound. And it sounds just, oh, it sounds beautiful. It sounds lovely. Rip to your neighbors, rip to anyone that you're trying to talk to while you're around the car being on, but it sounds lovely. By the way, they weren't actually produced in America, so the domestic joke doesn't make sense. But anyway, not only that, but they are incredibly quick and aren't your typical Corvette actually, which makes them a bit more unique and fun if you don't just want to buy a Corvette for the power. The interiors are nice for a Pontiac, and as long as you fix the issues above, these cars are known for running for a really long time. People with these cars mostly run VMRs or multi-spoke style wheels like the V701s or ESR RF2s from, yeah, ESR. Most run lowering springs as well, and most people will stay to the lowering springs because that's really all you need to do. In terms of tires, well, it really depends on if you like to do burnouts or if you like to party, okay? People like to run Achiles and Nankangs all day because you can just roast them. And if you want to go to a drag race and actually just whoop some ass, you can probably just go get some NTO5s, which are almost always on these cars. The Pontiac GTO is a little bit of an odd bird. They aren't as popular as you would think, especially when you don't see them that constantly anymore. But they don't stand out enough to where you would spot it if it was driving by you. They're just oddly slightly underpriced version of a Corvette. They're cool, but they're cool for what shortcomings the car had from the get-go. They're a car that'll behave as long as you fix the issues that would literally start the car on fire. It's like they took a cube book out of Ferrari. They're fun, but they aren't as affordable as others. They sit in the area of like, I might as well try one before spending my money on a full trimmed out Corvette. But what do you guys think about the Pontiac GTO? Drop your old 2 cents below. And of course, if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to check us out over at fitmentindustries.com. I love the Pontiac GTO. Just because it starts on fire doesn't mean I don't like it. It's fun. Get a manual, get the 6.1, and just roll those tires all night, and you'll never not be happy. Just know that if you do buy one, you're gonna get a ticket in about 72 hours after you take ownership. You just do, trust me. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. We will see you later. Peace.